It's time for the Potawatomi Fire Coaches Corner. Featuring two-time TBL Coach of the Year, Fire Head Coach Mark Danoff. With special guest, General Manager David Qualls. And now here's the host of the Coaches Corner, Chris Cox.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Coaches Corner here on the Potawatomi Fire Broadcast Network. I'm Chris Cox. I'm joined by Fire Head Coach Mark Danoff. Later on today, I'll be joined by Fire General Manager David Qualls. Coach, though, I want to start with you and honestly start with something that we haven't had to talk a lot about, and that's a loss to St. Louis on Friday night. You fell to the Griffins 121-118. Now that you've had a few days to kind of look back on that, what were your thoughts on that game?
Well, first of all, we'll give credit where credit's due. They came out and played extremely well. They shot the ball well, played really hard, got after us defensively. But, I was probably more disappointed with the way we started the game. We've been doing a really good job coming out and getting off to good starts, but that's the first time this year that we really didn't respond early. But on the flip side, I'm really proud of our guys' resolve and perseverance to continue to work. With that first time out, I told them, I said, we talk about this all the time. Usually we're on the other end of it.
Right.
Big leads early just don't last unless we stay focused on the things we're doing. So we were very confident at that point that we would get going, but it certainly wasn't a lot of fun to fight from that big of a hole.
You mentioned the slow start that y'all got off to. Like you said, you've gotten off to fast starts all season. What do you think contributed to that slow start?
I'm not totally sure. I mean, you could blame it on a lot of things. I thought we had a lot of opportunities to score early. We missed a lot of bunnies around the basket, gimmies, but it just wasn't going for us. We missed a lot of free throws early, and we just didn't play with that same energy and activity that we do defensively to start the game, which allowed them to gain confidence. And I think that had a big effect on the entire game because they started to feel confident when shooting the basketball and what they were doing, and it carried on throughout the game.
St. Louis is a very physical team, and they were very physical early on in the game. It kind of seemed like that, at least early on, kind of got to y'all a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's how they play. They're very physical. I guess their approach is they can't call everything.
Yeah.
And that's fair. You can't. And I think that probably disrupted us a little bit. But at the same time, we've been there before. We've played teams just like them. We've reacted in the right way. I thought we reacted in the right way the other night. It just took us a little while to see the ball go through the basket, and that always helps. When you get off to a good start, seeing the ball go through the basket, it picks everything else up.
When you play a team like St. Louis or another team that's physical like the Griffins are, how do you practice for that? Because you can't exactly practice that kind of physicality without putting your guys in danger during practice.
Yeah, there's a lot of styles of basketball and philosophies of how to play that sometimes you just can't simulate in practice.
Okay.
But in that sense, we're aggressive. We don't call a lot of fouls in practice because I think we're pretty physical too, and I'm sure the other teams would probably say that as well, that we probably get away with some calls as well, and we're very hands-on, aggressive, things like that. So, there's probably a lot of teams around the league that feel the same way about us, but you never want to put your team in harm's way and the things that you do to prepare for somebody, but it's really, mental more than physical. And just, we keep saying, just go strong, play through the whistle.
After that slow start, y'all were able, like you said, to climb back in and actually took a lead in the third quarter. What started to go right for you besides just shots falling?
But that's big.
Yeah,
we started the second half, making, I think we hit 3 threes in a row to really get going. And honestly, it probably started before halftime where we chipped away and we knew possession by possession, let's just get this thing reasonable. We got it down to 10 at halftime. We even got it under for a second, but then it ended up at 10. And our guys are pretty confident, and we know the second half is usually where we come out, we make a couple adjustments, and we're able to do some things that we weren't able to do. But when the ball goes in, that changes a lot.
Nobody likes to lose. Players don't like to lose. You don't like to lose. The organization as a whole doesn't like to lose. It doesn't happen very often.
Right.
But what were some of the things you can take from Friday's game that you saw as positives?
Well, I think first and foremost, if, how we felt afterwards, that's a
Okay.
really good sign. I mean, that feeling we have in our gut and the disappointment we have mentally, if we didn't have that, I'd worry about us more than
Okay.
if we did. I know it bothered the guys. It
Mm.
has stuck with the guys. We've gradually built up to moving on to the next game and knowing what we got to be better at and what we have to do for the upcoming game against Enid. But it's that feeling that we talked about all the time before all of this that we're trying to avoid.
Mm.
And we had an opportunity to feel it again, and now we know what that's like, and we don't like it, so we're going to definitely make changes that we need to be successful the way we've always been.
You always talk about focusing on the step that you're on before moving on to the next step. Is it harder though to maybe move on after a loss like you had on Friday as opposed to a win where it's like, okay, we got that game out of the way, let's move on to the next step. This one maybe stays a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you've been on a run like we have,
Mhm.
it kind of hits you pretty hard. But we still have to have that same mentality that we've left that step. We're going to learn from it. We learn from the winning. We learn from the losing, and we prepare and we move on to the next one. We can't change what happened
Right.
in terms of the outcome, but we can change what we're doing to not, do our best that it doesn't happen again.
After the game on Friday, when you and I spoke, you mentioned the 2023 team that you won your first championship here with, and
Mhm.
y'all lost 4 games, including one to St. Louis in game one of the finals. But you never had losses string together. How do you avoid that this time?
Yeah, you want to put together winning streaks, but you
Right.
you, know, you want to prevent losing streaks, and it's just about us getting back to who we are and doing what we do at a really high level. We
Mm.
really do, and part of that is moving past that step that didn't feel very good. But but honestly, these guys have great resolve. They're experienced, they're professionals, and they know we can't have a hangover from the previous
Right.
day or the previous game and then continue to move on. So we're locked in on what we're doing. It didn't feel good, and it never feels good for anybody. And we're going to get back to being who we are and what we do and what we do.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a quick break. And when Coach Danoff and I come back, we'll talk about this weekend's games against the Enid Outlaws. This is the Coach's Corner here on the Potawatomi Fire Broadcast Network.
Are you ready to elevate your business with a new technology partner? Vive provides lightning-fast fiber internet up to 10 gigs, along with powerful technology solutions that enhance your security, productivity, and efficiency. Our dedicated team of business consultants will identify your business needs and recommend solutions to address your challenges. Don't wait. Claim your free technology evaluation today. Visit business.vibebroadband.com and discover why Vive is the premier choice for your business success.
It's a quarter after one.
Lady A, live in concert. Friday, June 20th, 8 p.m., Grand Casino Hotel and Resort. 7-time Grammy Award winners, Lady A. On sale now at grandboxoffice.com. Lady A Live.
Welcome back to the Coach's Corner here on the Potawatomi Fire Broadcast Network. I'm Chris Cox, and I'm joined by Fire head coach Mark Danoff. Coach, this weekend you have 2 games. It's a home-and-home series with the Enid Outlaws. You're here on Thursday inside Fire Lake Arena before you make your way up to Enid on Saturday. It's always a little unique whenever you play the same team twice in a weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been a little while since we played 2 games in a weekend.
That's true.
So, so it'll be a little bit different for us. And as I always tell you, our approach is always the same. We take those back-to-backs or even with a game separation, and we use them as playoff preparation. In this case, we'll be at home first, then go on the road. And we've had it flip before, especially when you get to the playoffs and you do have home court advantage. You'll start on the road and then come back home. But it's a very good basketball team. They've made a couple roster changes. They've been playing extremely well. In fact, their only losses to us earlier in the year. So we expect them to come play, and they'll make some adjustments, and we'll have to be ready for them. And we'll continue to do what we do, as I always say, and do it at a high level.
As you turn the page from last week, what's the mood been like in the locker room and in practice preparing now for Enid?
Yeah, the mood has still been the same, disappointment, but yet when we walk between the lines, it's time to work, it's time to get better, it's time to improve on the things that we didn't do very well the other night, and yet still prepare for a very good team.
Yeah, you mentioned Enid. They haven't lost since they played y'all. That's their only loss this season. They come in at 8-1. What have you seen from the Outlaws since the last time y'all played back about 3 weeks ago?
They're running really good stuff. They're getting good ball movement. They run a lot of ball screen actions. The Harris young man, Devin Harris, does a really nice job reading them, rejecting them, using them, and then finding the open guy. They're getting good movement, having good spacing, and they're pressuring the rim really well.
In that last game that y'all played against Enid, you frankly dominated the Outlaws. 150-94 was the final score. You had 8 guys finish in double figures, led by Chuck Guy's 30. What can you take from that game as you prepare for this weekend's games?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to take the confidence we had and the level of energy we played with, and what it took to actually do that, to be that successful. We were surprised by, the separation in the outcome, because they're a very good team, and we expect them to come and really compete hard and try to flip that on us, So, but we got to take the things we did well and tinker with them so that we continue doing well, and then the things we didn't do well, we got to play with those a little bit and make sure that we're running them and doing whatever it is on each end of the floor that needs to be done to be more successful in what we did last time.
You mentioned Devin Harris and how he's able to kind of orchestrate the offense for Enid. Since y'all last played, Enid's really found their rhythm offensively. 121 points per game, 54% shooting from the field, 39% from three. What's been working right for them on offense?
Well, they're sharing the basketball,
Okay.
And they're getting good spacing. They got the right guys taking the right shots. You know, like I said, the stuff they run and Devin making good decisions, putting the guys in position to be successful, whether it be off his pass or him kind of having that hockey assist where he passes that lead to the assist. But he kind of makes them go. And those other guys' games have picked up. I noticed a lot of numbers had increased since the last time we played them, whether that's points per game, assists, rebounds, field goal percentages. So they're getting a lot of output from a lot of different guys. They're pretty balanced, and they're just talented.
What's it going to take to slow down a potent offense like that?
Well, we do what we always do. We really stick to our principles on whatever it is they're trying to run. We handle ball screens a certain way. We're able to do it several different ways. We try to quickly figure out what works best for us. They set a lot of them. We rotate a little different than a lot of people do, so we got to see where they are in their spacing and where our help's going to come and where our scrambles are going to come from there. But we'll continue to do that, watching film, looking at the things that worked last time for us, think about the things that the adjustments they're going to make that we should expect. And if we do that, I think we'll continue to be successful and have opportunities to stop them on the defensive end.
Defensively for Enid, the Outlaws, they've given up quite a few points since y'all last played, including 133 to CYM last weekend. What have you seen from the Enid defense?
Well, they play extremely hard. When things are going well for them, which they have been, their intensity picks up.
Okay.
They get out, they pressure the ball higher on the floor. They'll pick you up a little bit full court. But most of the time, they're in the gaps. They're trying to prevent people from getting into the paint, and then recovering from there. And then for us, we need to attack their closeouts. We need to continue to get in the paint and force them to help and overhelp and be the aggressor at all times. If we stay aggressive and jump up, shoot the ball with confidence, we're going to have a lot of success. But they play really hard. They pack it in. They help each other, and they finish with the rebound every time. So they do a really good job.
This weekend's games, they're important not only for you guys to get back on the right track, but also important in the conference standings. These two teams, 1 and 2 right now in the Central Conference, and if either team were to sweep, they would kind of take a pretty solid step ahead of the other in the standings. So what needs to happen that y'all come out on the right side?
Well, and I keep saying it.
Well, it's true. I know.
We just got to do what we do, and at a high level. I think this week we'll continue to get better ball movement, player movement, continue to get paint touches, be the aggressor, definitely in the offensive end, get out and run. We didn't really get out and run much. The court was pretty short last week. But we'll have an opportunity at home to do that again, and at their place they have a very nice facility, and a big facility with a long court, professional level court. So we'll be able to do those things, and those things will be very effective for us, and defensively, just really communicating, locking in, challenging shots like we had been doing really well, and finishing each possession and only allowing one opportunity.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I'll be joined by Fire General Manager David Qualls. This is the Coach's Corner here on the Potawatomi Fire Broadcast Network.
You know what this program needs? New Dr. Pepper Blackberry!
It's full Dr. Pepper! It's sweet blackberry flavor!
Bango! There's even zero sugar!
And we got a new mascot too!
Oh, that's sweet!
Try new Dr. Pepper Blackberry. It's a pepper thing!
Get the most out of your Wi-Fi with Eero Pro 6 from Vive. Houses come in all shapes and sizes. Shouldn't your Wi-Fi too? Eero's True Mesh technology blankets your whole home in coverage. With the right Eero system, you can work, stream, game, and chat, powered by whole home award-winning Wi-Fi that works. Plus a simple, smart, and secure fiber-powered network that just keeps getting better with automatic updates. Visit vivebroadband.com to get connected.
Welcome back to the Coach's Corner here on the Potawatomi Fire Broadcast Network. I'm Chris Cox. I'm now joined by Fire General Manager David Qualls. David, thanks for sitting down with me.
Hi, Chris. Always a pleasure.
We talked before the season, and you said that you were going to come on during the season at least once or twice, and you wanted to come on this week. And I know, first off, one thing that you really wanted to talk about was just kind of where the team is as a whole, where they've been these first, 7 games and first month and a half of the season, roughly.
Yes, what a great start to 2025. We've got a good core group of players from top to bottom. They all get along fine. They're just like family. And our fans are wonderful. We've got good, strong sponsorship. We've got super strong attendance at all of our games, which just builds this momentum of where we're at for the season.
Yeah, you mentioned the home games, the attendance, the fans. You're 3-0 inside Fire Lake Arena this season. You've now, dating all the way back to the 2022 season, won 40 consecutive games inside Fire Lake, and which is just kind of a wild number to think about. And obviously credit goes to the players and coaches, but a lot also has to go to the fans for creating one of the best home courts in TBL.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think the fans really understand the impact that they do have on the game. It's just the electricity, the excitement. It's always fun to watch the guys back behind the tunnel, and they're peeking through the curtains, seeing who all's there, how big the crowd is, because, as with every event, the fans come in the last 20 minutes.
Right.
So the guys have already pretty much done their warm up. Their focus is what's happening on the floor. They're not paying attention to their surroundings, and they just get actually excited. We don't have stage fright with this team. They just, the fans build them up more, and that's important to the fans. And we really appreciate that we're providing that entertainment value and that level of athleticism that draws them game after game after game to the Fire.
And I think beyond just what fans see within the 48 minutes of the game, it's more than just that. Whenever they come to a Fire game, it's a whole experience with the dancers and the fan interaction that goes on, and Mo the Firewolf, everything around it as well.
Right, and the Dorito tacos and the ice cream.
There you go, all the concessions as well.
And your Dr. Pepper Blackberry. No, it's a well-rounded deal. Plus, we do a good job, and Chris, I've got to give you the credit for that because you're responsible for it. There's all the social media and the PR awareness of what we have with games coming up. Things like this coach's show that's well thought out, well planned every month or every week, excuse me. Yeah, it was something new that gives everybody to look forward to on Wednesday night at 6:00. Hit social media and what's the coach's show have to say. So all of that builds the whole well-rounded program, just like an NBA program is.
Yeah, one thing I know that's a big hit with the fans, especially the younger fans, are the Fire Girls.
Exactly.
They love them. I know I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and every time the Fire Girls come out, they stop whatever they're doing and they watch them.
That's right. And they put on a good show. During our half times, they work the crowd well. They're very good dancers. They're just very good people. And the girls are excited to do this as
Yeah.
well as the guys are. And so that works out really good.
Now, while the Fire go all out at home games and everything that Citizen Potawatomi Nation does, they're going to go 100%, whether it's a basketball game, something at the Grand Casino, concerts here at the arena, everything they're going to go all out for. Life at this level of basketball isn't always going to be that way, and sometimes the experience on the road's a little bit different than what the guys are used to here.
Absolutely. It's a day and night difference in our league in some locations of what you expect to see from the Fire. And we have, when we're, within a good traveling distance, within a reasonable distance inside the state or just across the border, we have Fire fans follow us and they see the difference. Those of you watching the stream, while we're on the road, you can see that difference.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's not necessarily always the same.
Yeah, and I know while the Central Conference has some of the teams in the Central Conference have tried to raise their game a little bit. Enid, who will go to Enid on Saturday, they have a pretty good performance and a pretty good output. Again, some of that other stuff, not quite what you're used to when you go to some of the other places still.
Well, I'll be very honest with you. Enid Outlaws set the bar for us. We were just looking at getting into this, and the first organization we were asked to go look at was Enid and the Stride Center, and they had dancers and they had fans and things like that. And so we believe that if we're going to be in this league, we've got to be in this league.
Right.
And they set the bar, and that's what we rose to try and achieve. And so, but it was good. The Central Conference is a very solid conference as far as the operational aspect of this game. And there's two different parts of this game. There's what's going on the court, and then there's everything going on behind the scenes.
Okay.
In addition to the smoke and mirrors, with the dancers and things like that. And so it's not always the same, and it's definitely not a level playing field, and a lot of things that cause harm to some teams that it makes things different. It's like taking you out of 80-degree water for an Ironman and dropping you into 40-degree water and expecting you to still swim a 12-minute mile.
Yeah, and it definitely can be a little bit more difficult in certain places. But, I think one thing that the Fire have gotten good at is navigating those changes in environments.
Exactly. And of course, this last weekend was the testament of that unlevel playing field outside of conferences. Everyone knows when you play a home game with Potawatomi Fire, you're going to get the Fire Lake Arena. We were in Missouri last week, and it's literally a lottery of where they play a home game. When we agreed to take this out of conference game last year, the commissioner of the TBL, Carl Neil Wiley, assured us that it would be on a regulation court. TBL has specifics on what size basketball courts are supposed to be, and it's supposed to be a 94 foot by 50, like a college and an NBA court, like you see at Fire Lake Arena. And last minute, we get moved to a private Priori school that is a court that's about 10 foot shorter. That changes the whole way we play ball. And it's hard to officiate a game like that when you've got 10 guys that are 6'6" to 7 foot, all jammed in a small area. And it's kind of like Coach Danoff alluded to in the earlier segment, you can't call them all. And so the playing field was unleveled. There was definitely a bias in that game that we got hit with at the 11th hour. Had no option but to play the game or take a forfeit. And I'm not going to forfeit this team, neither is Coach Danoff, simply because the league didn't honor their deal. So we played the game.
Now, still, though, despite the loss, everything's still in front of the Fire that they want to achieve.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's now just, I guess, it's about bouncing back and getting back to where they want to go, and that starts tomorrow.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys would play on a gravel playground basketball if that's all we had to give them, because they're ballers. They want to play. It's my job to make sure that they have the best of everything that's available to them. It's my job to see that we follow the rules exactly as they're written. And it's my job to see that those guys get there safe and get home safe. And it worries me when any one of those elements is not consistent, because we could have an injury and or we could have, a catastrophic issue. That's why we don't send guys in cars 400 miles to play ball. We put them in a bus because of their safety is tantamount to every other thing we do here. And substandard basketball courts are a safety concern of mine, and I'm going to be the most vocal when that is.
Going back to what we have going on tomorrow, it's another big night inside Fire Lake Arena. It's our annual Pink Out game, sponsored by SSM Health, one of our great sponsors.
Grateful to SSM for the many things that they do for the Fire, and it's a privilege for us to do the Pink Out game. And the guys all get a special uniform in pink this year. Every year the design's a little different. And so the fans have got into that, and we have some shirts that are commemorative to the Pink Out night. SSM does a lot of things with cancer survivors that night, and bring a lot of their staff in as well. And so we're happy to do that. And I'll tell you, a Thursday night game is going to be really good for this. It's a great event for that.
And if I'm not mistaken, any lady who shows up wearing pink, they get in for free?
Absolutely. It's all about the ladies. And wear some pink and come in and get free and get in free and have a great night. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, these sponsorship nights, like tomorrow's Pink Out game, it's the second of 4 sponsorship nights. We had the Sovereign Bank earlier this season. Then we have the Fire Lake Casino night later on, and then Vibe Night.
Vibe Night, right. And actually, we have a one that you probably don't know about yet.
Okay, there's a fifth.
Yes.
Surprise.
We just picked up another national sponsor in Frito-Lay.
Okay.
And so we will be having a Frito night, and I believe the talk is the first X amount of people through the door get free Fritos, and we're going to have, a lot of Frito-Lay themed ideas. And if you'll notice in our concession areas that we have an array of variety of Frito-Lay products for sale in the concession stands.
Just be sure to save me a Frito-Lay pie.
Absolutely.
That sounds great.
Absolutely.
A chili pie.
Well, that Doritos Lola Coach Tacos are brought to you by Frito-Lay.
There you go. That's going to do it for this edition of the Coach's Corner, David. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Like I was saying, 2 games this weekend for the Fire. The first one will be tomorrow night inside Fire Lake Arena as they take on the Enid Outlaws. And again, it is Pink Out night, so ladies, wear your pink, get into the game for free. Tip-off for that game is set for 7 p.m. If you want to buy tickets to that game, you can go online, PottawatomiFire.com/tickets. You can also buy tickets at the door here at the Fire Lake Arena box office. And then the Fire will go on the road to Enid, just a short 2-hour drive northwest. Make the trip up there, support the Fire as they take on the Enid Outlaws on Saturday. That game will tip off at 6 p.m. Of course, for any other information regarding the Fire, regarding TBL, be sure to follow the Fire on social media. You can find them on Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And again, you can watch all the games on TBL TV or listen to them on our radio partner at KGFF Radio. That's going to do it for this edition of the Coach's Corner. For Fire head coach Mark Danoff, General Manager David Qualls, I'm Chris Cox, and I'll talk to you next time right here on the Potawatomi Fire Broadcast Network.